Welcome to the podcast channel for podcastmybusiness.com.au and video for contentmadeeasy.com.au. And we welcome Adriana from crowdsnow.com. And Adriana, we're discussing just before about your name, Adriana, and you get comments about someone I've never even heard of.
Oh, it's a Wheel of Fortune. She's to turn the letters. That's what I got told. I'm not even from Australia. I got told that when I got here.
Okay, well, maybe I missed out on that person. Who knows? And you've got a lot of experience and a great story, and I'd love you to share that with us, please.
So, okay, I'll probably cover off two things here. One is I was extremely ambitious and driven from a young age. At 16, I was dubbed Hong Kong's youngest director, and I was doing 75-hour weeks. I'm not suggesting others necessarily do that, but I was an elite athlete. I came out to Australia. I was working in the entertainment arena, started my own business early, had my own restaurant, went to the events field. I had, with my ex-husband, a franchisor, and then, had different disciplines all stemming off the same area, became very, very good in the CRM and ERP. So essentially lead generation field, and things stemmed off from there. But what I did learn is that, and again, even within the hotels field, when you are, doesn't matter male or female, if you are someone who is highly ambitious and very driven, you will ruffle feathers along the way, especially as you're climbing corporate ladders. People don't like that. I thought they would. They do not. And I moved very quickly. And, I was not in business to make friends. Things change as you move through and you find your people. So what I would say is, don't dilute yourself. You do not need to come off the top shelf just so people can reach you. Okay? As you're moving, it is uncomfortable. People will try and denigrate you. Pay no attention. Just stay in your lane. Do you. Do not entertain gossip. Do not engage. Just keep doing what you're doing, and your own circle of people will find you. I'm very, I have what I would say is a strong sense of justice. So yes, there were definitely spaces that I were in that were very trying on my moral compass, but I was not going to engage in certain circles that behaved in ways that were not part of who I was. But to the same sentiment, I also understood there were lots of things missing in what I needed to understand in business. So even at times when I did try initially to go out and start my own business, I just kept falling over because there were huge gaps. And even though it pained me to go back into the workforce, I had to learn things. So I sort of had to swallow humble pie and deal with the noise, so that was a huge lesson that I just had to learn.
You've got all this experience, and how do you stay sane with your companies and vast experience?
Well, we'll work out whether I'm sane or not, right, as we go through this, Tony. So I think, one of the things I think we were just sort of sharing before is, I think at the onset when I really started, one of, I'll say, my mentors, and he was a chef that was moving into an HR role, and he used to come into the kitchen in a suit, which I found really interesting. And he said, dress for the role you want, not for the one you're in. And I think that was a really impactful statement, because I think, one of the things we talk about a lot is goal setting. And I think and manifesting, that's a really big, topic that people talk about, with things that we want. And I think when you can foresee where you want to be, no matter what role you're currently in or no matter what place you're in life, especially the aesthetic of how we groom ourselves and how we present, just because you're in, whether it's the checkout chick or whether you're in high school or whether you're in a reception role, if you want to be the director of a company one day, or you want to be somewhere else in life, then dress as if you own that role now and take pride in where you are and conduct yourself to that ilk. And I think that is the stepping stone of actually already, lining up that ecosystem for where you're going to be future state.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt that presentation is really important. Even when I'm sitting here at home working on a day like today, I still put on a polo shirt because you need to be in the zone and in the mood. Still look presentable, but not the same as some other networking events.
Correct. And in line with that, I'll sort of lead a segue into customer service, which is I'm experiencing at an all-time low, right? And there's a gentleman called Will Cordera who's written a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, which, by the way, I'm just going to advocate for. It's an incredible book, but and one of the lines in it is, how you serve is as valuable as what you serve. And I can't stress this enough. Customer service in any remit of your business is so important. And I'm constantly in and out of different types of businesses. Hospitality is suffering immensely at the moment. But it doesn't matter whether it's retail, doesn't matter whether it's construction. It actually doesn't matter what type of business it is. And I think whether you're a business owner or you're a frontline staff member, the amount of times I have experienced such poor levels of service, and then we hear these dialogues with businesses shutting, and there are owners that are not paying attention to what is actually going on in their business. They are leaving it to, when the cat's not home, the mice play, and play they are, right? And then they seem surprised when their businesses are falling over. There is an unbelievable lazy mentality that is going on in business at the moment. I'm not going to delineate from people there are people that are working exceptionally hard, and there are other things that are going on which we'll cover. But there is 100% a lazy mentality. It's my birthday, I don't have to work. It's a public holiday, I don't have to work. It's I sneezed, I don't have to work. And then there's the others that are working and overworking, where sometimes, when I sneeze, I close my eyes and they're not sleeping at all, and it's their burnout factor. But when you are providing a level of service, it should be exceptional levels of service. And it is the ones that are going above and beyond, that are not just providing what I call baseline service, the ones that are truly, they remember your name, they remember the repeated clients, by the time they see, and I'm going to use a cafe or a restaurant, that it's your 15th time there and they're not still going, sorry, what was your coffee order? Because that's infuriating. It is the ones that take pride. It is the ones that do not, I say argue back. Excuse me, I actually ordered a large coffee. No, you didn't. For the variance of $1, just give them the large coffee. Do not burn your client. But I'm watching these repeat incidences happen, and it's actually costing the business clientele. And traffic, and I just was, talking about this earlier on, attraction and intention are not the same thing. And I like to window shop. That does not mean I have intention to buy. And when you get to a place where you have a client that has intention to buy, you better believe you do everything you can to retain them, because that is a hard place to get to. And your frontline staff are not always across the fact that the reason they have a pay package and the reason that they can put lights on and food on the table is because the owner went to all of this trouble to get to that intention and conversion basis. So there is a misalignment that is happening in business at the moment.
Yeah, there's definitely misalignment. I remember when I worked in hospo all those years ago in five-star hotels, I worked from back of house to front of house and restaurant management. And I think is the issue not a bit broader, that people aren't being trained enough in all aspects of the business? or does it come down to they don't have the right bit of paper?
So it's a really interesting question. So I always said hire the person, not the resume. So I think twofold. I think as well how paper doesn't mean anything. I taught at the event management college, and it was a really interesting scenario on one of the times when I was teaching, and some of the students went, "Oh, we want to do what you do." And I said, "Oh, what do you think I do?" And they said, "You tell everybody else what to do." Worked very hard to tell everybody else what to do. And a really interesting disparity that often happens, especially in a number of disciplines, is sales and operations. And I said to them, I would never hire anyone in a sales space that had never ever done at least 2 years in operations. And I said, because there is an understanding, and I'll just use a really basic one in, let's say, the hospitality space, which I know you have an understanding of. Sales want to get the conversion for sales. A lot of them are driven by bonuses and commissions. But on the floor in operations, when you, by way of example, and anyone who's listening to this that understands that, when you have to change a 500 room, right, seated banquet style to all of a sudden theatre style, and sales goes, "Oh, can you just do that in 45 minutes? No, right? I mean, you can, but the resources and the cost and the labor, right, that's going to incur to actually make that happen. Sales don't care. They just want their commission for getting a new sale over the line. If you take the sales individuals and put them on the floor with the amount of staff, it's not feasible, not with cleaning, not with changeover. I say it's not feasible, not unless you add another 30, which is the cost line that's going to impact. And I'm yet to meet a shareholder or an owner of a business that goes, "Meh, who cares about extra expenses and if it eats into our profit line," right? So when you all of a sudden have to take, and I say I've learned a lot from, the people I work alongside, the people that work underneath me, because they're the ones that are communicating up what isn't possible. And sometimes when you have owners, again, that are so far removed, they can't see what's actually happening on the ground, right? So once you've worked in roles that actually complement each other, or you switch it around, you get an appreciation and the communication and the transparency and the understanding, the empathy, the compassion. That's how you get great looking teams. Now, why I say hire the person is skill versus will. I can teach anyone how to pack up banquet tables, right? But do you have the tenacity to actually work the 4 hours overtime when I call you in, if I need more? Now, there's nothing I would ask my team to do that I would not be willing to do myself, right? So you will see, but if I'm willing to do something 5 times over and then I ask you to do it and the answer is no, then you're not actually a team player.
I just want to change it a little bit. So while I'm working for you, I'm an employee and I don't get all the benefits of being the owner. So why should I have to work as hard as you?
Well, again, so I think that this is, and to your sentiment, the word should, okay? So that's, I guess, and I think there's just twofold here. So we have to be working towards a common goal. So there's a part where, do you believe in the business you're working for? So I think at a time when where I got to in my business is, there's never been a business that I worked for, because that I didn't treat as if it was my own business. And that comes from a place of integrity, ethics, moral compass. You learn a lot. That also is who you are as a person. So if you're the type of person that treats other people's businesses as if they're inconsequential, that's just who you are as a person. And that's okay, but you just have to take ownership of that. If the moment, and I'm going to say this, just, even when we're talking about a game of Monopoly, just because you go through something doesn't mean you go through it well, okay? So what builds resilience and grit? Like, I can lose a game of Monopoly and throw it in the air and have a tantrum. I mean, I still went through losing. I just went through it poorly. part of what builds all those things that makes you tougher and have all those skill sets is going through those things that are difficult and getting better at losing. Now, a child we expect to be a bit of a sort, because they haven't experienced it and it's lost and it's a bit overwhelming and they don't know how to emotionally regulate. I watch a 25, 30, 40-year-old do it, and you know, and it's not that we haven't seen it. We've seen it at the parent sports days, right? Their child loses, a parent goes, you know, the ones of us that know how to emotionally regulate are looking at it like that isn't, you know, the best way to conduct yourself, right? They should probably go have a therapy session.
Yeah, that's not my fault. It's my mental health issue that's causing me to do this.
And right, well, and look, you know, we talk mental health is a big thing, right? It's also a term that's now been abused, okay? And I'm going to talk about this to two remits, okay? If we go to the gym and we work our muscles, we become flexible, okay? If we take our mind and our mindset and we work that also becomes fluid and more flexible. If we don't and we're rigid, it's like rigor mortis is set in, and it's very hard to work with people in our team that are so set on their ways and stubborn, and it's their way, and that's not a team player either. So why should someone do anything? Well, there's a difference between compromise and compromising who you are. Now, if I'm going to be fluid and work with you and give you the things that you want, and we're going to goal set, and you have these plans and these things, and I'm going to work with all these, and I think it's really important to always have things you look forward to, right? So I work with all my team and we goal set, and I'm going to work to help them scale and grow. To the same ilk, I have expectations to in my business to scale or grow and to success plan. It's a two-way street. So if I'm working with you, but you won't bend and work with me, then that's okay, right? But we're not in alignment and it's not a fit and our values don't match. And therefore you are not a fit for my business. The same way in any kind of relationship. There needs to be a mutual fit. So you should not do anything that's not for you, but you are also not a fit for me, and therefore you should probably go sit at someone else's table and see if you're a fit for them. Well, I'm gonna do you a little bow with a ribbon on it. Part of the biggest reason with crowds now was the derivative around that was how can I elevate and amplify businesses using everyday people to help do that in an arena where we have literally become the laziest generation ever.
Thanks for your time and your patience today, Adriana. We have a few little technical gremlins. One thing you can guarantee with tech is it will fail. But I'd love to have you back on to have another chat about customer service. We touched on that a little bit, and how lazy the generation is at the moment, potentially. We can't say they're all lazy, but who knows? But customer service is certainly a big issue. I'd love to have you back on if that's okay with you.
Would love that.